Yeah, so when we get a heavy rainstorm, typically the weather comes from this side, so you see it coming, right? And the whole sky turns black and grey and what have you, and the rain just comes, and you see it coming. And then when it hits, first of all you get the wind.
Yeah.
You get massive winds, and it took down a tree the other day, right? I mean, these are quite a substantial tree. And what happens is that it starts to, you see it, we have the track at the top of the house there, the driveway at the top of the house, and you see it coming there, and and then over by the house, until we started doing these works, we had an area of paving that we put down during the dry season. Honestly, we didn't even think about it. You know how during the dry season you forget it actually rains? But it sure does, and then we soon realized that this was not the best way of managing water.
So just kind of looking at the landscape that you have here, you have quite a slope from the hill coming down through the area where buildings are, then leading down to the stream. How do you deal with some of the problems that you probably are going to have with runoff and the like in heavy rainstorms? Yeah,
when there's a heavy rainstorm, it can be quite dramatic. Around the house, we've tried to sort of go for a terracing design, right? So we've followed the landscape. We haven't really changed the landscape, but we've tried to sort of make it so that when the water comes, there's place for it to soak in, and then any runoff can go to the next step down. We've also dug a ditch to sort of divert some of the water away, so it comes this side rather than directly to to where the house is. And this side, I've never seen surface water flowing over the top of it. It seems to just be absorbed.
The trees and the grasses will definitely help with that effectively. They slow that surface water so that it doesn't amass into larger amounts and then cause huge issues effectively. Well, but it's you've stabilized the slope essentially with grasses. And it works very nicely. I mean, we can tell where there's been disturbance, right? So where there's, I don't know, vehicles have gone or whatever, right? And some of the grass has been killed off. You'll see these channels emerging, starting to form.
But where the grass is, there's touch wood, there doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. And
do you find it here? Because here you've got a bit of a drive that goes down
and you can see the water flow, right? You can see how all the grass has been bent and pushed.
Essentially it's being washed down towards the thing effectively.
So we've got to find some way of making this passable, because we need to have access this side, but without
without causing a huge problem effectively. What I've seen in some places that they'll put little humps, and a hump every 10 or so meters, so that way you don't allow water to build up enough to get to that point. But then the hump doesn't go necessarily right across as we'd have it on the main road. It's on a slight angle. So water that's coming is then run off to a certain thing. And usually in such a way where it's then put into an area where it can infiltrate. But if you put it into anything like this, again, with all of this grass, it's going to be slowed and it's going to infiltrate fairly quickly. So, but I would imagine that's one of your biggest problems is the runoff.
On a stormy day. It's something else.
This is where you're having. Now this pipe here, was that at soil level originally? No. Okay.
No, it's always been a little bit above soil. But
this is the demonstration of your stream in heavy rains.
So what you can see, if you look up here, you can see the gateway that we have there. And behind that was this paved area where we park the cars. And we thought it looked really nice when it kept everything. But when it rained, that gateway turns into a funnel and the waterfalls, right? I mean, you could charge an entrance fee to come and see our waterfall. And then it comes across the grass here, over here, and you can see.
Just scours at that point in time too.
How it's sort of removed everything. So we've taken up a whole load of the pavers, replace them with grass, put some retaining walls in to try and slow things down. But hopefully with this new setup up there, we'll see less water coming through.
Yeah, this is not doable. Eventually, you will have this completely worn away.
Right.
In time, but
interesting.
Sorry?
See that little baobab and the speetle on it there?
Yeah, you're going to have to wait a long time for this to get to any size. But they are starting to put out mature leaves now, which is nice to see. But it's interesting here because
you see how it's taken out this tree, huh?
Yep. But then beyond that, when you get into the grass area, all of a sudden your grass is absorbing most of that energy again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the grass is able to withstand and to protect that soil, which is fantastic.
And when you walk on the soil, you can feel quite how wet it is, right? There's a lot of give in the soil.
No, it's a big one. I think here you're probably having a bigger problem with the size of the tree and it not allowing as much grass to form because it's then quite a bit of shade underneath it.
You'll be pleased to know that when we first started building the house, the builders they wanted to bulldoze this, and they wanted to bulldoze the other trees up by their house as well. But
that's very standard. You know, let's take them all down and then you can plant.
Yeah, exactly. And then we can
Meanwhile, that's taken what, 30, 40, 50 years to grow. Yeah. And, you know, you can't make that happen overnight with another tree. So. No, it's nice to see them, at least that kind of large trees. These are poison pot acacias. Not an acacia, it's an albizia, sorry. They just call them the false acacia because they have no thorns. But if you have livestock, this is not really one you want nearby because if the livestock eat the pods, they can actually be poisoned by them. So it's one of those rare things.
We'll warn the goats not to come this way.
Yeah.
So the water is moving a little bit.
So this is a little stream crossing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I don't have a stream by my place because I don't know how I'd feel in terms of my dogs getting wet like that.
No.
Yeah, so in a heavy flow, this is unpassable.
Completely. Yeah, you'd be up to your waist in water here. Yeah.
Be washed down effectively, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's nice because you are getting the typical kind of riverine species. We've got Trichilia, Lusaka. We've got Revolfia, the quinine tree, ficus. So very good kind of typical riverine species, effectively. But yeah, no, you'll have to try and make sure that nobody's cutting down these trees, you know, in this area. Ideally, you don't even want people, you know, within 50 meters of the stream cutting down trees. But it's obviously a lot easier said than done in Zambia, unfortunately.
No, we can protect our stretch.
Yeah.
But our neighbours we have an ongoing discussion with them, right? And it's a process because people need the wood for different things. Yeah. But, you know, I think there's
But you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot in doing so, effectively.
Right.
You know? There are more sustainable ways of... Somebody is very happy.